Season 2 of the current era of Doctor Who. Some episodes were better than others, but which ones were better than which other ones? Which one was the worst episode of the season, and which one was the best episode of the season? Because whatever you think of the season as a whole, it goes without saying that there will be, degrees in that. They're not all equally bad, they're not all equally good. So, this is just my opinion, but here's my ranking for Season 2. Hello, welcome to Culture Filter, my channel where I talk about the geeky pop culture I like, including a lot of Doctor Who. So if you like Doctor Who, do consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Now, as I said, we're going to be ranking all episodes from the most recent season of Doctor Who, and I would love to know if it matches what you yourself viewed, which was your favourite episode, which was your least favourite episode. You don't have to rank them all if you don't want to, but feel free in the comments down below. We're going to go from the bottom of the list to the top, from my least favourite episodes to my favourite episodes. So starting at number 8 is The Reality War. This seems to be an unfortunate trend with Russell T Davis's current era, and I would argue potentially Russell T Davis overall, because there have been some of his other shows and some of his other seasons of Doctor Who where I thought it doesn't really know how to end things, or at least end them in a satisfying way for me. And this is that happening again. I will say there's nothing that annoyed me in this episode as much as the signpost annoyed me last season, so there's that going for it, but it is still not a great ending to the season, which is a shame because, as you'll find out later on in this list, the first bit of the season I quite liked. So it's a shame for it to end on such a sour note. Now, as more and more things have come out and I've learnt more about some of the behind the scenes stuff that went on throughout this whole era, this is a result of some things in the plot changing midway through production due to cast changes. Both this season and last season, but both cast changes have had a knock-on effect into the end of this season. So what had been set up was not paid off in a satisfactory way. For instance, we never found out why the Rani can break the fourth wall. We never found out why Poppy was the baby that the Doctor and Belinda had. There is a reason for that, and maybe one day I'll go into it in another video, but it's because it wasn't meant to be originally Belinda and the Doctor. It was meant to be Ruby and the Doctor, and there is a reason why that makes sense for it to be Poppy. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video. But because of all these changes, the story just doesn't quite gel at the end there, and it doesn't make sense, and it leads for another disappointing ending. There's also things like Omega the villains being wasted in this. Both Omega is on screen for a matter of a minute, maybe two, and he's defeated in like 30 seconds. It feels like a massive waste. And the Ranis, who I had really enjoyed in the previous episode, which I'll talk about later, one of them just gets eaten straight away and the other one just runs away, and then we get the last third of the episode, which is just this sort of tacked on ending to facilitate the regeneration, which wasn't originally planned for. So it's all in all, unfortunately, a bit of a mess to the end of the season. At number 7, we got the Interstellar Song Contest. Now, I like a lot about this episode. There are various bits in it I really like. I like the concept of it generally. I like the setting of it. I like the music even. Even Dugadoo, it's grown on me. But there are a couple of songs in there that are actually really good as well. Kind of even wish we'd had a bit more of the songs. There are bits about this episode that I do like, and there's bits I really don't. I said in my initial review I needed to think more on the kind of the political analogies of the episode, and I've come away with the conclusion that it is just a confused mess of political analogies that don't really work because they're contradictory and they don't seem to know what they want to tell the audience. There's nothing wrong with having social commentary, but within the same episode at least, you need to not be contradicting yourself in terms of what message you're trying to get across, and this one does that. It also, unfortunately, makes the Doctor torture someone and not suffer any repercussions for that. Now, I don't necessarily mind the Doctor going to a dark place, but I think needs to be set up well in the story, and there needs to be consequences for it. In this, it could have been Belinda really not trusting the Doctor after that, but she kind of immediately forgives him and tells him he's the greatest person in the world. She gives him a look, says, "Oh, I'm a bit disappointed in you," but it really needed to be more than that. This needed to have lasting repercussions for it to be justified, and it wasn't. So you just got the Doctor torturing a survivor of genocide after you'd already stopped his plan, the bad guy's plan. And yes, he was a bad guy in this episode, but you stopped him already. You didn't need to torture him. A much better solution would have been, a much more doctorish thing to do would be to stop him and then convince him maybe why the route he was taking to seek justice or whatever he was seeking wasn't the right way to go. Have that conversation with him, talk about how maybe the Doctor wants to help free his planet from the Poppy Corporation, but none of that happened, and it was just so disappointing at the end, and a confused mess. At number 6, we've got the Robot Revolution, which, while it had a few clunky moments in it, I generally think this was a pretty solid season opener compared to some of the other season openers we've got over the years. This was an okay one. It wasn't the best, but it neither was it. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. Just a pretty solid season opener. And what we got from Belinda was really good and really promising, and they may not have lived up to that necessarily in later episodes, but the dynamic that they established in this episode, where she was the reluctant traveller, she would challenge the Doctor, for instance, on testing her DNA, that was all really great stuff. It didn't get followed up in later episodes, but I'm not going to blame this episode for that. At number 5, we've got Wishworld, the prelude to the finale, the first part of the season finale, which I think is a very common thing with Russell T Davies finales, is much better than the actual finale. I like the concept. I like the fact that they kept the Doctor kind of in the dark for most of the episode, kind of noticing things going on in his Mr. Smith persona, but never fully breaking out of it. I think a lot of episodes like this might have had the Doctor come out of it about halfway through, but I do really like the fact that they stuck their guns to it to the end, and that gave us some really interesting stuff and shooty to do. I liked the Ranis in this. I liked that there were 2 of them. I liked the dynamic between them, and their plan coming together was quite interesting and good. I liked it. It was a good setup that wasn't fulfilled or paid off really in the next episode. But again, I'm judging these episodes individually, so the fact that it wasn't paid off later hasn't massively affected its placement of this episode. Number 4, we've got Lucky Day. Now we're on to the bit of the list where they are all episodes which I think are pretty damn good. I really liked Lucky Day. I liked the kind of tone of it. I liked revisiting Ruby. That was interesting. I will say I was a little bit bored for the first bit, and that's why it's not higher. But as soon as that twist happened with Conrad, then I was there for it, and I was really enjoying what they were doing with the episode after that. And I had a great time. I think it was brilliantly directed. I thought it was just great performances all round. It was a great episode. At number 3, I've put the story and the engine. Just kind of fantastic, gripping storytelling for this one. I thought it was something that we don't always get from Doctor Who in terms of its style and its setting. I really loved the little animations we got with the storytelling. That was interesting. And I have a little few niggles here and there, but overall, I really enjoyed this one. The little niggles were things like, I wish the Doctor, when he was telling his story, I wish that had been in the same animation style, but they're really little things that don't massively impact my overall enjoyment of the thing. It's just kind of nitpicking, things I wish the episode had done. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the kind of character focusedness of it. I saw some criticism that this episode felt like a stage play, and it had too much talking, and it was all in one place, and I don't disagree that it felt like a stage play. What I disagree with is that that's a negative. I wouldn't want it every single week from Doctor Who, don't get me wrong. I like going to different places, I like episodes with action in, and I want that in my season, but I do also want episodes like this, which focus down, which maybe have a bottle episode in a single location, that do feel more like a stage play with that focus on dialogue and character. And this episode delivered that. I don't think that's a negative. I think that's a positive to be included in a well-rounded season. In second place, I've got Lux. This episode was also really creative in a very different way. It's done something also that Doctor Who rarely or never does. I loved the character of Lux. I think he's my favourite Pantheon member, and brilliantly voiced by Alan Cumming. And yeah, the performances were all great. I really liked the kind of meta stuff that they did. I like the going into the cartoon world stuff. Again, I have a few little niggles. I think it could have done with extra time, and I would have given that time a little bit to the projectionist getting a bit more development, and also to spending more time as the Doctor in cartoon worlds. They kind of just went in cartoons for like a few minutes, and I know because it's expensive to do, but it would have been nice seeing them exploring a cartoon world a bit more, and some extra time and some extra money presumably would have been nice to have. But other than that, I didn't come away with any major negative criticisms, and I really liked the meta bit. I liked that bit. I know it's kind of Marmite. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I liked it. And I think Belinda as well was good in this one. It was before she kind of lost her character a bit later on. Her character kind of got swallowed up by the plot, and also the fact that she was probably, a lot of these scripts were probably started on when it was meant to be Ruby in season 2, and I think that shows more in some of the later scripts than it does in this one. And then finally, at number 1, I've got The Well. Love this episode. I thought the character work in it was brilliant, even for those sort of supporting characters. The team of what are they called? The team of commando people that went into the well. I thought there were some great characters in there. Yeah, there were some background ones that didn't get much development, but that's fine. They are meant to be background. But there were also those supporting characters which got the development, and I think worked really well. The atmosphere was brilliant. The filmography was brilliant. I had no qualms with it being a sequel to Midnight. I didn't mind that the entity acted slightly different here. That was also fine, because it's so many years later. Kind of made sense to me that it wouldn't be acting exactly the same. I don't necessarily think that it needed to be a Midnight sequel, but I don't think that it being a Midnight sequel detracted from it at all. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So there you go, that's my ranking for season 2. What was yours? Let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, there'll be more videos coming from Doctor Who about Doctor Who stuff soon on this channel, and possibly some other geeky pop culture stuff. So if you like any of that, do subscribe down below.
I have officially taken over my father's channel, and Rowan's here to help. So yeah, I'm sure you're so glad it's just me now. Anyways, I've made my own ranking video over here. Go click on it to see it, and I hope you enjoy. Bye!